I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
This has to do with the county creating in October of 2014 a human resources department under the auspices of the county commissioner. I think, Commissioner Regular, you were the only commissioner that was part of that process. Commissioner Smith wasn't.
Commissioner Creighton was.
Hey,
I don't think, if I read the agenda correctly, I don't think she was present that particular
Oh, the
day.
day of the vote.
day of the vote.
The day of
Right,
the vote
right, that's what I'm
was
talking
part of
about.
the discussion.
Thanks for bringing that up. But I know you, Commissioner Creighton, are very bullish about doing that. So my question is, I'm looking over the payroll for the county for human resource functions. And of course, the county has its own department under Director Kimball. But then I look, and there's the auditor's office has a human resource person, the engineer's office, Jobs and Family Services has multiple resource persons. So my question is, why do we have so many human resources at the county level? You know, I understand that there are human resource functions at the municipal level that wouldn't integrate with what the commissioners are doing. So why, and it's a cost factor. There's the county spending about $1.2 million just in personnel costs for all of the county's resource function, and the commissioners, including the benefits for the personnel, are spending, by my calculation, $425,000. So my question is this: is there any way that the county human resource function can absorb these other applications of human resources?
Well, I think one of the reasons we created a department, first of all, we have 1,600 employees, roughly 1,600 employees in Stark County, and I think it's for any organization that size, it's important to have a human resources person, and that's why we created the position. It was handled basically by the administrator did some, and we had a gal within the office that did some. Yeah, and it's very siloed. I understand that all the elected officials have their, they're the elected officials, so they can do whatever they want on the HR. But I think we're trying to build a department that people will come to us because, handling employees now is getting much more difficult with family medical leave and, all the things that you have to deal with. So I think that's why we created the department, and hopefully we'll get, and I think you're starting to see that people are coming, the various departments are coming to talk to Michael when it comes in to sharing some ideas and having some questions about. And the other thing that we, at least I wanted to see happen is every position gets posted, because that in years past, that was not necessarily the case. So by having that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think by having that HR position in place, we want to see every position posted, and we want to get the best people possible. Commissioner Craig, you got anything to add to that, or Commissioner Smith?
Well, not too long ago, I had a conversation with Stark County Clerk of Courts, Louis Giavasis, and he's been the clerk, I think, since 2015, and there's been quite a few hires there. He tells me that he's only used human resources once, and that's when they hired their collection persons. So I think the commissioners have done a terrific job on budgeting since Commissioner Creighton, since Commissioner Burnaby came on. So why can't the county take the lessons learned on bringing the budgeting process to some kind of order and discipline to the human resources function? I mean, it's just, your answer, Commissioner Reagan, if I understood, is, well, these folks are independent elected officials, and they can do what they want, but that applies pretty much for budgeting. I understand that the commissioners say, okay, but it's going to affect your appropriations. So there is some leverage there. But, the county spending, nearly, upwards, not that far away from a $500,000 on the human resources function. So how can you square that up with not the kind of utilization that ought to be happening?
I think we're seeing this evolve. I want to take you back in our history, and I'm probably the only one here that can talk about this, is that when I worked for the county commissioners back in the late 70s, early 80s, we had a huge human resource department. And I think over the years with the erosion of the sales tax, and they decided to start to cut things, and I really think that the county got out of hand. And that was our reasoning in hiring an experienced, skilled human resource director that has his hands out there helping. Now, does he go into every department and tell them what to do? No. But now they are starting to get the gist that we exist, that his department exists to support the wellness plans, to do the health fairs, to create the procedures in the handbooks, to have meetings in which they might bring a workers' comp representative in, or to talk about various things that are for the entire county. I don't see this happening over, and I know it's been since 14, but I think we have come a long, long way, and that those other departments know out there that if they need a mediator, if they need someone to sit in on a disciplinary action, they can come to our experienced, skilled human resource department. And I will not apologize. I will not apologize for hiring that department and moving this county in the right direction. We cannot tell the engineer who he needs to hire, but I believe that if the engineer thought they needed help, they would come to our human resource department and say...
Even when they have a human resource person of their own?
What his human resource director does. But we exist for the good of the whole. We exist for the good of the whole. We are the umbrella over the county. And those, again, are my opinions.
Well, and here's the other thing, Martin. The commissioner's office did not have a human resources department. This is the hub of the wheel. This is the hub. So while there are people in commissioner departments doing personnel functions, payroll and the daily punching in and out, those types of things, there was no overarching umbrella of the entity that had the hiring authority and the supervising authority of these departments. That's untenable. Untenable. When I came here in early 13, our policy manual, personnel manual, had not been updated since '99. I was working 12-hour days. Personnel and human resources issues were taking up huge portions of my day. Should not have been happening. I was having to choose which dumpster fire I was going to work on because this was out of control. Mike Kimball and his group have really calmed those waters. We've pumped out a new personnel manual. We have standardized forms. We have standardized policies. And personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. And if we're willy-nilly with our hiring, we're going to be willy-nilly with our services. And so it brings a quality and an efficiency to have all that in order and the fires put out. And so we always hope that it grows to the broader county, but it was always going to start with cleaning up our own house first. It was always going to be getting the commissioners' hiring authorities where they needed to be. And I think we have gotten there. And I will attest, Michael, on a regular basis, is sought out by elected officials for disciplinary hearings, for advice, for consulting. That's what we want. That's what we have. That's what this board wanted. But again, like it or not, these other elected officials, when it comes right down to it, they do have their authorities and prerogatives, and sometimes they stick to them. But many times they will reach out for consulting. And if we have, even other boards, DD, Veteran Services, people that could do the things they want to do, want to align. What do you do for this? What do you do for that? How do you handle this policy? And they reach out on a regular basis. So from where I sit, we are light years light years from where we were just 5 short years ago in 14 when this happened. So, I mean, I understand your point and looking across, but it's not this big hole where the commissioners can control all of those functions. We can build the very best operational HR department, but at the end of the day, everybody else has to see the value of that and tap in and use it. But
the only way you can change that is either a change in state law, I don't know if you can change the state constitution, or a charter of government. That'd be like the only way to, you know what I mean? You'd have to totally redo the setup in order, you know.
Do you agree with that? That the only way to achieve, you know, I appreciate Commissioner Regula's point that, and, you know, he did a terrific thing with even the Board of Elections in asking the director if they post their jobs. And we all kind of got a chuckle out of that because we know how political that structure is. It's not the people. Ohio set up that structure, and so you have to have a balance between Republicans and Democrats.
One of each.
Right, but the point is that the Stark County taxpayers pay everybody's salary that's on the payroll. Why shouldn't those jobs be open and at least people have the opportunity to apply? You know, along Commissioner Regula's line, that our goal is to have all public jobs, countywide, posted, right. And so, you know, the question that was asked, I think, was a good question, that it seems hopeless, but is it hopeless?
Absolutely. But that question should go to other elected officials. We follow that course.
Right.
We follow that. I can't tell and I'm not saying that, I can't tell any other elected official that they have to post them. You can make it known. We can ask them just like we ask the Board of Elections, but we don't have the authority to tell them So your question really should be going to those other elected officials.
A lot of times those elected officials come in and then they already have in mind who they want to hire. They might post the job if it's required, but then they really don't have any serious plans to hire anyone else besides the person. It could be the guy they had kindergarten with, you know. I mean, and we've seen that happen.
Right. Okay, so what is your question then? So your question is are you asking us, Martin, what we're going to do about that?
Well, I remember when you came on board, Commissioner Creighton, I thought you very effectively on budget matters, and I understand it's a little different structure, and the commissioners do have some leverage, but I thought you were very effective beyond the leverage in saying, you know what, how county business is conducted is changing. And I like what the commissioners have done with human resources. And so I'm not being critical in the sense that you set it up, but what I want to do is to find out, and I think you make a good point. And I, of course, with Geovasis, have done exactly what you said, and I'll certainly do it with other county elected officials. But I think the commissioners, for using a trite phrase, an overused phrase, the bully pulpit, and I think you, Commissioner Creighton, are particularly effective that way. And I'd like to see the commissioners function in that way, and so that's where I'm going with this point.
Well, and Martin, you have to remember, everybody, all the county employees are on their one health care plan. So managing that health care plan is a very important function that Michael and Dorothy and Carol do. All the
one workers' comp plan.
One workers'
security
comp
card plan that they get.
And unemployment.
Which, by the way, is new. You know, just this little card right here. It took us 2 years to get this building onto a security system where it could be regulated, videoed, safe lockdown, not 25 luggage keys floating around and somebody's passed from employee to employee to. This might seem small, but the HR department handles all of that now. New ID badges, the judges coming in and out of the garage, the safety project going on in the garage right now. All this is helped and driven by HR. I could not get that off the ground. We couldn't get this off the ground without the ones to keep and maintain that little system. That's a tiny little picture, but it is, in my mind, to keep everybody in this building safe and the public that visits us is huge. And that's just one little piece, but you don't think of all those things. And there's so many tiny little details that every day have to be dealt with that it all adds up to a big...
You know, Mark, when I came on board in 2013, one of the greatest things I learned from Commissioner Creighton and Commissioner Burnaby was that when it came to hiring, we hired 7 out of the 11 department heads in Stark County.
Right.
We posted every position. We did an exhaustive search. That's how we came up with a Michael Kimball and a Brant Luther and a Chris Nichols and a John Barber out at the Dog Pound and Debbie Forkas. I mean, we hired a professional maintenance manager. We had a guy that used to be was this son-in-law
of a former commissioner. We don't hire our friends. We don't hire our relatives. We don't hire our brother-in-law's sister's kid or third cousin. I mean, we might know somebody, but in the old days, remember, I'm an oldie here. I mean, I've been here since the 70s. I have seen county commissioners hire their relatives and their friends. And you can go back and check me, back to when I was the county recorder, I would not, I mean, that's when you were allowed to hire your relatives. There was a point, I think it was, I'm trying to think when that changed? But, we really got away from all that.
Well, but how about politically connected people?
Well, okay, have I ever hired someone politically corrected? Put it right on me. Yes, I have. But I know that person, I know their skill, I know their capability, so I'm supposed to negate them from being considered because I know them? That's not right either.
Well, not only know them, but these may be people who work on campaigns.
Does that mean that they're bad people?
No,
Well,
but it's certainly...
Why shouldn't they get the same consideration? You mean to tell me that if somebody applies for a job...
Well, I'm not telling you, I'm asking.
Well, I'm asking you.
Well,
Are you...
I asked the questions,
Okay,
Commissioner
so, hey,
Creighton.
well, I don't ask questions too. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. Martin.
Get your camera
I am a
out.
taxpayer.
Right.
Okay, so are you implying then that if we know somebody that has come through the system the right way and they might have worked on a campaign, that we're supposed to say, come on,
I'm not applying anything. I'm asking whether or not that happens.
Be the devil.
It seems to me, I've covered the commissioner's office before. It seems to be much harder with this office. It definitely has happened in other offices, but because
It doesn't happen in this office.
because you have 3 commissioners, and if one commissioner wants to bring someone in, and the other 2
Right.
aren't on board with that, then
They don't come in.
it makes
Good.
it much
Good-
harder.
good
I can't
point.
think
You know
of
how we've taken the politics out of it? By giving it to that guy right back there. Because I will not go to him, and he can call me out if I have and said, I want you to hire this person. I will not do that. I will not go to him and ask him to do that. That's his
right.
job,
Even
not mine.
under the prior boards, I can't remember a situation where, and I can think of situations where other elected officials have done that. They happen to know someone that got it. I've heard definitely that's happened, but here I can't. Even under Gil Jackson and early 2000s, I can't think of that happening. Maybe it happened, I didn't know about it, but I can't.
Hey, come on, guys. How did I get I'm just telling you. How did I get my original job in government? Because of nepotism. Because I worked on somebody's campaign. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. It's true.
Is that a good thing?
I don't think it was a bad thing because it trained me to do what I'm doing today. I started my career in the commissioner's office. I will end my career in the commissioner's office. But the commissioner's office taught me how every brick in the foundation was laid. It gave me the opportunity to understand county operations because there is no book that teaches you how this county government structure.
I wish there were, by the way.
So would it be fair to say that it's a mixed bag because the problems in the treasurer's office might have something to do with the hiring process?
Well, and the treasurer at the time, and let's make sure we're correct here, not the current treasurer,
Right.
the former treasurer,
Right.
did not keep his eye on the purse. He did not hold his staff accountable. And whether I hired you because you were my buddy in the campaign or not, you still have that obligation, I believe, as an official, to keep your people in line and hold them accountable. Listen, I go way back with this man right over here, and I don't deny that. I go way back with him. But I wouldn't, if he did something that was wrong, I would not be afraid to tell him that. And if he did something that caused dismissal, I would vote for that if he broke the, he won't.
I know better. I know better.
No, but my point is, I mean, Martin, all of us in politics have friends. I don't understand how you, if we were going out, if this office was going out and staffing every position that we made the hire with our buddies and friends, then I would not like that. I would campaign against that. But Gary Ziegler got himself in his own trouble over there because he didn't do the right thing.
And more controversially, in the past, we've had people come in and they've gotten rid of people who were working there before based on partisan affiliation.
Yeah. Oh, that happened when Kim Perez took my place down at the auditor's office. He came in and what was it, Brand? 20 people right on the get-go, let him go? To devoid your office of that experience is not right.
He kept a lot of people, though. Just to be fair.
Bottom line is, Martin, we've taken the politics out of hiring in Stark County. We post every position that we, under our authority, we don't hire friends and relatives and people who pounded signs for us. We hire the best position, best person possible. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. We just want the best person possible.
It doesn't happen as much as it used to. I mean, we've had some new people come in. It used to be, it did happen, like Helen Garofalo in the 80s. She got rid of almost her entire office or something like that. I don't think it happens as frequently. I mean, I'm sure there might be a couple of exceptions, but I don't remember anyone cleaning house when the last couple of elections.
The last couple of elections, I don't remember anybody.
Or maybe it happened gradually.
Hey,
Sometimes it happened.
Perfect example across the hall. Alex didn't clean house. There are people sitting over there today that
like
proved
Chuck,
their assault, that were there under the Gary Ziegler administration.
His name was assistant. She was the interim for a while.
Same in Allen's office.
Jamie Albrecht.
Jamie Albrecht, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, to pick up on your point earlier, it's interesting. Now we have a state law, and you can't hire your relatives. However, the relatives of various officials show up on somebody else's payroll.
Well, you check these three out right here and tell us if our spouses show up on somebody else's or our kids. They don't. And you have a great case. I'm going to stop.
Well, thank you, commissioners, for the candor.
I mean, it brings up a lot of good questions. What's the best way to hire people? What's the best way to...
You post every position and you do an exhaustive search.
And let them do the interview. The only time that interviewee is brought in here is if it's a high-ranking position that maybe one of our department, it would be our department head. Well, at least we want to get to know the person.
Right.
But when you're hiring an assistant clerk or a maintenance two, we don't bring them in here. We have our faith and trust in Michael Kimball and his ability to sort that out. And you know what? If he doesn't find somebody on the first round, what I will say to him, then go back and do it again. Don't settle just because you decided that you got to have somebody. We can wait a few more weeks.
The last facilities manager that was hired, Lee Henderson, this board hired or interviewed 10 people. I mean, that's unheard of. 10 people and him twice before they felt this is the guy, because they knew what a heavy lift he was coming into. They knew how many demands. They knew how the ship was battered and how it was, and everybody had high expectations. So it works.
Everybody agrees that hiring is a critically important phenomenon.
Personnel is
It's what he said. When he first got here, he spent probably
12 hours a day.
Because two women were fighting, or somebody didn't like the way they combed their hair, some stupid things that he should not even be dealing with. Let HR deal with that stuff. He has to run the county.
You know, Martin, my dad was a master at hiring the right people, and he didn't care if you were
Martin,
Republican.
I love those discussions. You're like, fill your camera.
I love it.
He didn't care if you were Republican or Democrat. He just felt the best person possible.
But people like your dad at that level probably don't exist very much anymore.
I don't think so. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.